Hello and welcome to Roundtable. Today we are going to be discussing this week's political buzz. It's been a pretty active week, hectic week. We have a new government in place. We also have new ministers taking office. And of course, we have the opposition, the state of the opposition. Or do we have an opposition or not? Those are some of the questions I will be discussing. Joining me on this editor's take is Shekhar Iyer. He is a political commentator and columnist. Neerja Chaudhary, also a former editor, political commentator and columnist. And Radhika Ramaseshan, she's the consulting editor with the Business Standard and also a columnist. Radhika, it's been a very, very hectic week, hasn't it? We've seen the swearing in of a new government, and we've seen Congress kind of resorting to status quo, with Sonia Gandhi still remaining the Congress Parliamentary Party chairperson. Rahul Gandhi has not yet taken back his resignation. So lots to talk about. Let's first talk about the government. What is your first take on the Modi cabinet?
See, my first take was that regional representation was by and large very fair. Of course, they had Alphonse from Kerala in the last Council of Ministers. This time they have Muralidharan, who's a favorite of Mr. Modi and who's from one of the more influential castes of Kerala, the Irava caste. So, barring Tamil Nadu, I think every state is represented in the cabinet. So, that was my first take. They've got some unusual kind of inductions like the Balasore MP, not so unusual because Mr. Modi is harping on poverty. I mean, he's made his fight against poverty the main agenda. So, I guess the Balasore MP, Mr. Sarangi, fits in with the slot. And great care has been taken to see that all the castes are represented properly. Like in Maharashtra, you have Rao Sao Danvi, Maratha, who's found a place in the cabinet. From Karnataka, you have a Vokaliga, you have a Lingayat, and you have a Brahmin, Mr. Prahlad Joshi from Dharwad. Similarly in UP, you have Mahendra Nath
all the castes fine, but what about the top four? Let's talk about the...
Okay, now coming to the top four, yes, you have one major lateral induction, Mr. Jaishankar. Nirmala as finance minister, I mean, I wasn't particularly surprised at that induction portfolio.
You were not? Why? Because we were all expecting Piyush Goyal to get it. Why was he left out?
No. I sort of expected Nirmala. Now, why Piyush Goyal? Maybe there was a perception that at some point Goyal had overreached himself. I think that was a perception in the party. So, I was not at all surprised at Nirmala's induction as finance minister. And of course, Mr. Rajnath Singh had to be fitted in the top four.
Correct.
So, he's got defense. I just want to quickly add, it's being made out, some people, as if it's some kind of a demotion. There's nothing like that. These are all very important ministries. It's all much more nuanced and subtle than, falling into some kind of a hierarchy. After all, they're all members of the Cabinet Committee on Security, Mr. Amit Shah and Nirmala and Rajnath Singh. So, on the whole, and Jaishankar of course. So, on the whole, I feel that if you're talking about the top four, it's a fairly balanced thing.
Okay.
And bringing a lateral entrant is maybe presages the induction of more lateral entrants in the future.
Yeah, because the full strength has not been got. Neerja, your first take on the cabinet and also, the Sushma and Jaitley opting out, does it show a change of guard?
My first take was we are moving towards a tougher Indian state, internally and externally. There is continuity because the mandate has been for another term for Narendra Modi, but the high table has changed.
Yes.
The four top have changed. And Amit Shah coming in as Home Minister will give government and political push to the core agenda of the BJP, whether it's on Kashmir, whether it's on
Ram Mandir.
Mandir at a later date, and also National Register of Citizens, and things that he spelled out and the party spelled out in his manifesto. Externally, what is the most interesting part of this cabinet is the induction of Mrs. S. Jaishankar, who is a very low-profile bureaucrat who has been in tune with the Prime Minister's thinking and has delivered at every turn. Even after he left as Foreign Secretary, he was responsible, for instance, that Pravasi Bharti set up the meeting that took place in Varanasi. So he's kept in touch with the Prime Minister. And I think there also, strategic issues, he is an expert on China, US having been ambassador there, and with the trade wars between the two countries. India has to navigate all that. He couldn't have found a better person than S. Jaishankar, low profile, to head the foreign affairs ministries, and shown his willingness to induct professionals and technocrats in the ministry.
Okay. Shekhar, the fact that Nirmala and Anurag Thakur are in the finance ministry, now both are also known to be close to Arun Jaitley. So is it fair to say that the Jaitley era or the Jaitley hold over the finance ministry still continues given the choice of these two in the finance?
See, more than the hold, the way I see it is, Prime Minister, if you recall, as soon as Arun Jaitley had written to him saying that he wanted a break to help him recover his health, the Prime Minister had driven down to his house and held a discussion with him. And post that discussion, we have seen these changes. Of course, there was a lot of buzz about Amit Shah actually moving to finance ministry.
Right.
And of course, Piyush Goyal's name was also there. But
why didn't Piyush Goyal finally get the job?
No, it was not that why, it's not why Piyush Goyal didn't get finance ministry. I would rather say after Amit Shah's name, surfaced and almost it was there all over. In fact, even the Bombay, as they call it, the Bombay Club also reacted similarly. You saw the reactions on the stock exchange, and India Inc. too thought, that was the kind of feedback they were getting. But then it was decided, it was Prime Minister decided that it should be Nirmala. Now, the advantage of having Nirmala is that she has an economic background, she has handled defense ministry well, and besides that, Prime Minister probably felt that Nirmala would be the right person then who would be in touch with Arun Jaitley and provide that continuity that is needed in the direction of the policies. Besides, it was also important to show that the finance ministry was headed by someone who is not too close to Bombay, quote unquote. And a lot of things have to be done. And you will recall the Prime Minister's highest priorities to ensure that the finance ministry is headed by people who are absolutely above board, who have no baggage.
In terms of connections.
That he sees as one of the USPs. And if you recall his address to the newly elected NDA MPs, he kept emphasizing this, that he has managed last 5 years without taint, and he wanted a similar thing. That's why he was cautioning against, the power lobbies and fixers and, whatnot, that kind of caution he said. And he was even getting down to details. Even as you step out of airport on your election, you'll be met with strangers who would say, I can do this for you, I can do that for you, and that's how you get trapped. Now, for the Prime Minister to even mention the nitty-gritty of the art of the art of the fixing in Delhi goes to show how much he is apprehensive of the dangers that his second term faces.
Which is true, which is why I would say, the fact that he's giving so much detailed instructions to his people shows that the control is going to be really with him. We have the budget on 5th of July, within a month. Would it be fair to say that the blueprint for the budget has already been prepared by the PMO and all the finance ministers to just do the tinkering of it?
No, you see, I think the budget, if you want to know, the indications of the budget, it would do as well if we just actually seriously read the BJP manifesto. And you should straight away go on to that 75 milestones, what they intend to do, 75 things, or areas or objectives. I think that is going to be taken very seriously. And we have already known that as soon as the results came, that document was the most sought after by various ministries as to whatever schemes that have been unrolled and whatever projects have been, they have to be tuned in terms of, timeline. And the 75 milestones are actually those things which the Prime Minister wants accomplished on the ground and visible to everyone in terms of various sectors, and that is at the time when India is celebrating 75 years of independence, that is 2022. So therefore, I think a lot of work would have been done already, but little more tuning is needed because the economy is the biggest challenge. We have seen data yesterday. So therefore, how to overcome this slowdown? How to revive the economy. That's what everyone is looking at.
Yeah, and we also joined by Nalini Singh, who's a political commentator. Nalini, welcome to the show. And also, just to take off from what Shekhar left off, the economy is in the doldrums, yet we have the Prime Minister going ahead and promising more and more doles. He wants to bridge that gap between rich and poor. So are you a little apprehensive of the kind of economic model that might come out? Would it be taxing the rich? Would it be too welfare based? How do you see that happening?
Well, first of all, I think the new Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will have to deal with the statistics that have emanated from government sources yesterday.
Right.
So it would be, I wouldn't expect her to say that the base has changed and therefore unemployment is actually not at a 45-year high. She was going to maybe, she will say that to some extent. But I think that she is unlikely to say that all these figures that are showing a slowdown, a spike in unemployment over, let's say, the last 4 years or something. First, she will acknowledge that, which will be extremely good for credibility. That this is not somebody who's just, who's just going to do the bidding of somebody so that it looks good. Because economics doesn't look good. It starts rearing its negative head very quickly, once. Then I think so she's going to be she's there because the Prime Minister really has backed her. I don't need to go over what others have said. So I would say now, with the challenges of the 5th July budget, in this budget document, I fully expect that she is going to keep the fiscal deficit where it is, because that has won India plaudits abroad, and that is extremely important. You can't have fiscal profligacy, and so she's not. I don't think she'll do that. But your question is, where does one get resources for the 6,000 rupees per farmer to all farmers in the country, regardless? And the other one, of course, is a humanitarian one, increasing the scholarships of the martyrs' children, etc., and which is really a low cost but necessary. Now, all this will have to come. And your question is very direct: is it taxing the rich? In the last 5 years, there has been, people have not said it, but there has been tax terrorism. Many people have got, lakhs and lakhs of people have got notices, so they're actually only looking at their back, the documents, etc. And I think the taxman, in my knowledge, for the first time has been given targets. Every tax officer has been, down the line, has been given targets, which of course you do for industry.
Okay.
But taxing is not an industry. But I would say to you, just for one second, going back to foreign, to Mr. Jaishankar, he hasn't joined any party. And unlike R.K. Singh, who is in the
who was in the Rajya Sabha seat will happen, and he will join the party.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, but for the moment today, I'm just saying, as an exception, we have a foreign minister who is not of a party person.
A lateral entry. Yeah. Okay. Your thoughts on what everybody said. Also, one question for you: how do you see the liaisoning between Amit Shah and the party? He will also continue doing that. I'm told till Haryana elections, at least, he's going to continue.
I mean, if you ask me, Amit Shah will be indispensable to every election that is to come, not just Haryana and Maharashtra. So the point is that the next person who succeeds him will obviously be a person who will be who will have his stamp as well as that of the Prime Minister, and there will be perfect consensus between the two. That's what I expect. So now the point is whether Mr. Amit Shah will have the time to 24/7 for the party. That is not possible at all. How much leeway does he give to his successor? That's still in the realm of speculation. But I think he cannot tie his successor's hands down, in the sense that he can't be micromanaging everything. The organization is going to go through a major revamp, because a few people from the organization, especially from the states, have got into the ministry. So state units have to be reorganized. Even the central party unit has to be reorganized.
But a lot of party people were not taken in, like Ram Madhav, like Kailash Vijayvargiya.
Ram Madhav, Kailash Vijayvargiya are not members of either house. So I think Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah's timeline, as I see, is to have a smooth launch, not to have too many problems. Now, finding Rajya Sabha seat is not really a teddy bear's picnic, because BJP doesn't have a majority in the Rajya Sabha. It has to look for the states from where they can be accommodated. Of course, there are vacancies from Gujarat, that's one, and Ravi Shankar's seat, Smriti Irani, and so on. But even then, accommodating people from the party, especially when you have a huge bounty of winners, might not even send the correct signals. So I think the feeling is that let them work in the party for some time. There is enough and more work in the party. The party is as important as a government in the BJP's scheme of things. The party's importance is not going to get diminished just because Mr. Amit Shah has moved into the government.
Okay.
So, you know, so I guess these people are better off working in the party, and they can wait for a latter day to get into the government.
Okay, quickly before we take a short break, two people I am curious about, Nija, not including Rathore and Smriti Irani not getting a more heavyweight ministry than, you know, what she's got right now.
I think if I were to take a different kind of view,
Okay.
yes, she's not got a, some thought she would be one part of the
Big four.
top four. She's not got, considering she was, as they say, giant killer and defeated Rahul Gandhi in Amethi. I would put it slightly differently in the sense that women and child development ministry, the social sector ministries have been devalued, downgraded in successive ministries over the last 7 decades. And what happens to our women, what happens to our children, what happens to their education is of utmost importance if India is to become a power in the world and if we are to deliver on the promises made. Smriti Irani has the energy, the drive, and I think even the ability to think out of the box. So I'm very personally very happy that she's got WCD, whether or not she's happy on this.
Okay.
Because, you know, if 2 out of 5 children today in India are stunted, what future India?
Yeah.
So, and the government has launched a program to combat malnutrition. I hope that's going to go forward. Money has been allocated for 2022.
So what about Rathore?
Rathore is also a very surprised one. I would say Rathore is probably being prepared for Rajasthan, maybe to take over the party there. I don't know what the role will be, and maybe pitted against somebody like Sachin Pilot. With his background, you know, of being in the army and former Olympian, Sachin Pilot also is young, has a, you know, appealing face. He, let's face it, his hard work of the last 5 years brought the party to power in Rajasthan last winter. Therefore, I think I'm really amazed at one level, you know, Priya, how quickly they are getting into the act of thinking. इतने साल बाद क्या होगा हमारी पार्टी में?
Yes.
Already, who's in and who's out. So, I would look at the two in this way.
Okay, I'm going to take a short break and come back, and I notice a skeptical look on Shekhar's face, so I'm going to ask him to explain what he means by that, but after a short break. Hello and welcome back to the Roundtable as we discuss the new Modi cabinet and also the way ahead. Shekhar, before the break we were talking about all those who've been left out. Anything do you want to add to that conversation?
No, I think when we are talking of people left out, I mean, it doesn't mean that it's over for them. Rather, all of them who have been left out could be considered for some other role. Because the Modi's approach to, you know, finding people, it's not about compensating people for who they are, you know, in terms of what they have done for the party or things like that. Rather, his approach is the reverse. He looks at a position that and says who has to best to fit it. And this has been, and this is also the reason why many have felt disappointed also.
Right.
That, you know, we have done so much, we have had a long innings. So therefore, whether it comes to say Sushma Swaraj, in the case of Sushma Swaraj, she herself said, you know, way back in October, that she is not keeping well and she doesn't want to do electoral politics. And she said it even before consulting anyone. And she said it to one of her visits to Madhya Pradesh. That I understand the party probably felt, the leadership felt that they could have been told first.
Right.
And they decided that we'll honor that view. But that doesn't mean it's end of Sushma Swaraj, because Sushma Swaraj was involved in this campaign. Some of the literature that was brought out by the party had a touch, and she oversaw them. So I see Sushma, maybe she could be considered for a role as a governor of a larger state, because eventually she would like to be, you know, in the longer run, be reckoning for some constitutional positions. say for vice president or things like that. Rather than, I think she has had enough of this electoral politics, and she has been very candid about her health. So therefore, I think Sushma is a different category.
Unlike Jaitley, she didn't opt out. Jaitley gave that letter saying I'm opting out.
No,
Sushma did not do that. So was she opted out or was she left out?
No, I don't think she was left out. I would rather say because she had already made it very clear that she did want to do this election
Lok
thing.
Sabha politics.
Unless she's being regarded for speaker's post or something.
No, but she's not a Lok Sabha member.
Yeah, she's not. I'm just saying that unless in the very long thinking that goes on. But I would just say, going back to Smriti Irani, actually, Priya, women voted in huge numbers for the BJP, and many of the Prime Minister's schemes are actually directed at women. So I would consider this an extremely significant kind of post, and I'm sure that somewhere electorally, voter-wise,
a message is being sent.
This would be a message would be sent over there, and on the people left out, there's Maneka Gandhi. So I think that there is.
I don't think anybody is surprised with Maneka being left out. Yeah, because we saw even her seat was in a big question until the last minute. So Maneka being left out, I am not surprised by. But just moving on from them to the Congress, Nalini, how do you see the fact that Sonia Gandhi again has been made the CPP chief? Rahul Gandhi is not taken over. He's still not saying I'm not the Congress president. So is it more or less status quo, or do you see that's a positive move?
I think that Sonia Gandhi becoming again actually the chief of the Congress party in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So her writ will run in terms of who she appoints in Lok Sabha and who she appoints as leader in the Rajya Sabha. I would say that this is not a very big surprise to me, because this is more a person who has a kind of bird's eye view or a 30,000 feet eye view of what's happening in the Congress party or what's not happening. Whether she was going to correct it or not is another matter. So I'm not surprised by her appointment. I think that actually everybody and the media is obviously very interested only in whether Rahul Gandhi makes it to becomes the parliamentary party chief in the Lok Sabha. And here I think finally he will. But what I would say is that it was a bit petulant of him at that time. It's like you at this time running off and saying I'm not going to anchor this show on live television. It's almost the same as Rahul Gandhi saying I'm going now, find somebody else.
Okay.
I think that it would have been better if he had eased the party into the next person who's going to look after the Congress party.
He's still doing that. He's saying that I'm
now
staying
I'm talking about the early that Saturday, exactly 1 week ago. So I think that maybe, I don't think he's going to be persuaded to stay on, but I could be wrong.
Let's see. Shekhar, your take on the Congress?
Well, Congress is indeed facing a severe crisis of sort, and I think they had this crisis in 2014 too.
Yes.
I think that crisis was inability to comprehend the mandate of 2014, and gradually it became a self-denial. I mean, not willing to accept what has happened, and they always thought Modi had got this mandate by deceit, by Jumla or whatever. And because they didn't study that mandate carefully and accepted it, when I say acceptance in its fullest political implications. The same thing is happening to 2019, because in my interactions with Congress leaders, I get the sense they still feel, that there's not much the Congress need to do. Rather, it's again Modi is successful because he's good with his rallies, he's good with this. But there is an essential shift in the way Indian voters are thinking. And as far as, we will have to accept one fact, without the Gandhi family
the Congress
at the helm,
apart.
I mean, you may talk, you can have your views on dynastic politics, but without the family, the Congress party as it exists cannot exist. See, just for instance, Rahul had a long meeting with Sharad Pawar. You sort of, what kind of speculation started about NCP and Congress merging? But definitely there is a thinking, not about merger. Should they go in for some kind of a Kamraj plan where all the seniors will say, okay, we have had enough, let the new people come? Or will they go for what frequently it has happened in a call that was given during Indira Gandhi's time and even during Narasimha Rao's time, then even in Kesari's time, where you ask all congressmen who are there, let them all come together on one platform and try to work out in such a way that the Congress original ideals, the Congress being a centrist party, is seen as an alternative. Because one of the big factors that has disappointed Indian voters is Congress over the years, rather in fact I would say the last 5 years and more so in the last decade, has shifted from being a centrist party to a rather little radically to the left. And that has not been, that has actually left with a space which has been easily filled by the BJP.
Okay. Neeta, your take on the Congress, because a lot of people are suggesting that Rahul Gandhi stays there, but appoints 2-3 working presidents, people give, empowers people, or if he's the leader of the Congress in the Lok Sabha, appoints a Manish Tiwari or a Shashi Tharoor. I would say Manish Tiwari is a better bet, but some kind of thing to show other people other than the Gandhi Nehrus at the helm.
See, I think if you have to look at the mandate and what it's telling you, this time the young voter, the first time voter, has, I think, gone almost like one man towards Modi. And in the mandate, implicit in it, is also a feeling about the dynasty rule. Somewhere the Namdar, Kamdar formulation of Mr. Modi has resonated with the young people. So, if Rahul Gandhi says, I want to take responsibility, I want to step down, and not even my sister should be given that position, I think the Congress party should honor that. It will not hurt the Congress party. It's a grand old party of India for Rahul and Priyanka to work as Kamdars for a spell. Priyanka can work in UP, Rahul can work in Parliament, and surely there are enough leaders today in the party who can head the Congress party. And I agree, if the Gandhi family, which has unified the party as well as got it votes, it still continues to keep the party together but has ceased to get them votes. I think if whoever comes as Congress president is backed by the Gandhi family, yes, I don't see why the Congress party needs to fragment. The party, I was also very interested in this meeting that Rahul Gandhi had with Sharad Pawar. And there's a lot of rethinking, churning. But overall, I think they may need to move towards a more federated organization. A lot of people are talking about those groups that left the Congress coming back to its fold. Not so easy.
Not so easy.
Not so easy. But at least the party high command, dispense with the use of the word party high command.
All right,
it
Radhika,
sounds so slavish.
Yeah,
please move away
I
from
think
that.
We use it
Good
more
point.
Than them. Yeah, okay, I agree.
That concept. Give your state leaders autonomy, like with Amarinder Singh in Punjab.
Done. Quickly, last word, Radhika.
The Congress has the Congress has a lot of core strengths, core values. I think it's time it gets back, dips into that, rediscovers its strength and molds itself accordingly, not get into this trap of soft Hindutva or left of center. The Congress is a centrist force. It has to project itself as one. There is space for one. All is not lost. Because despite the majority that the BJP has, the space for an opposition exists. It might even continue to grow, and the Congress has, it's high time it steps on the plate and fulfills that role.
Yeah,
so I'm totally out of time. So
but 12.20 crore people voted for the Congress party.
As Sonia Gandhi reminded us today.
No, but as
Sonia has been elected as a parliamentary party leader, which is very important because she alone has the ability to coordinate with the leaders of other parties, for whatever they're worth in the opposition.
She has a goodwill across.
Because floor management, floor coordination, these will become important in the days to come.
Okay.
The BJP,
the need for the Congress to revive again and become a strong opposition
is there.
Every Indian is interested in that.
I'm totally out of time, but thank you so much. I think it's time the Congress makes itself maybe a trustee of power and get someone else to wield the power, whatever it is. But this has been a good discussion on the political buzz of the week. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching this show.